Mizmar David, Adonai Yoger Ba'alecha, Yishmen Ba'ar Kachecha, Hailech Tamim, L'Fayel Tzedek, V'Daiver Emes B'Levaya, L'Ragal L'Shano, L'Wasad Re'il Ra'ah, L'Cherpa L'Masal Pravo, L'Vzeh Beinav Nimos, V'Esirei Adonai Yechabeit, L'Yival Hara D'Lo Yomir, Kaspolo Nasan B'Neshech, L'Shochad Al-Naki Lo Lokach, Ose Eile Lo Yimot Lo Olev Tamim B'Foyel Tzedek, V'Doiver Emes B'Levaya. Our kesher to the Nifter Avram Yitzchak HaKohen and his mishpacha, the beautiful mishpacha that he, together with Zipporah Shishlut be well created and nurtured. Our kesher goes back many, many years to when one fine day they arrived in our Kehila, Miami Beach, Florida, from NACO. And it was mamish, as they say, love at first sight. Such a beautiful family, such a varma, heimische, Yiddische, Geschmack in Mishpacha, Mishpacha just drenched with Amunah, Bitachon, Yerushalayim, all the ingredients of Oivdei Hashem Be'emes. And so we forged a very, very, very close and tight bond, which continues to this day. Zipporah just told me, Rabbi Foyer, Zipporah is a very strong lady, always was and is. She says, Rabbi Foyer, this is not the way it was supposed to be. This is not the way the script was supposed to play out. This is not the way it was planned. And I tell you, Zipporah, and everyone, and the children and the grandchildren, that this evidently is the script. And that's why it's so appropriate that this is happening right before Yom Kippur. Because Yom Kippur, one of the great highlights of the Avodah of Yom Kippur is the Shtei Sirim. It's probably the most dramatic and famous of all the events taking place. The long Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. That we take two Sirim, two goats, and they were exactly the same. Exactly. Same height, same weight, same color, same horns, whatever, they were perfectly alike. Twins is the best. And then the Kohen Gadol, seemingly at random, has two boxes, two kalpis in front of him. And he pulls out at random one golden plate which says on the Lashem, and he puts it on the head of the Sawyer right next to that hand. And he pulls out another plate which could have said Hashem or could have said La Azazel to be destroyed. Puts on the other Sawyer. And one goat, they're exactly the same, twins. He gives up his life to be a Korban Hashem, and his blood is sprinkled in the holiest place, in the Beis HaMikdash, on the holiest day of the year, by the holiest Kohen, the ultimate Kiddush Hashem, that this Sa'ir is Hashem, totally devoted to the glory of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And the other Sa'ir is turned around and faces the Midbar, and it goes to the Tzuk, a cliff, which we still know today where it is. It's called Barobian. It's a huge cliff. And the Ishiti takes that Sa'ir and throws it over the cliff, and it tumbles down and it's shredded into pieces, and there's nothing left of it by the time it gets to the bottom. La Azazel, the ultimate representation of the road of destruction, of Churban, of Gehenna. Now, what is the seichel over here? They're exactly the same. They're exactly the same. Why does one get such an awesome mission, shlichut nifla, to be Hashem, the highest level of kibbush Hashem, die for the sake of Hashem in the holiest place, in the holiest time, in the holiest day. Another one, utter destruction, wiped out, obliterated, chisul shalem. You know what? There's no explanation. It's all a gyro. It's all from Hashem. Hashem has a mission for every single person, man and woman and child, and all the billions and billions and billions of people who walk the face of the earth and continue to do so. No two people are alike, and everyone has a different shlichus, and a different amount of time for the shlichus. And some have pain, and some have glory, and some have wealth, and some have poverty, and some have health, and some have sickness. And only the Rebbeinu Shalom knows why the garden of one goes Hashem, and one La'azazel, and Yom Kippur, the day of intensifying our Amunah B'Tachon Hashem. This ritual is what reminds us of how flimsy and frail our minds are. We understand nothing of the ways of Hashem. But as the Tafta said in this week's Parsha, Azinu, Hatzur, the Rock of Ages, Tamim Pa'aloi, whatever he does is perfect. It's not almost perfect, it's perfect. Hatzur Tamim Pa'aloi, Yikol, Drachav, Mishpat, everything Hashem does is weighed out carefully with His standards. El Emunah Ve'ein Avel, Tzadik V'Yashar Hu. The Rebbeinu never makes a mistake, never does something inappropriate, something wrong. You can trust Hashem. You can trust Hashem. He knows which gadol is appropriate for every creature on the face of the earth. Not just every creature, every regev, every stone, every cell, every molecule on the entire universe. The Rebbeinu Shalom has a cheshbon, and yeshlo seder mushlam l'kol achad v'achad. So therefore, it's exactly the way the Rebbeinu Shalom wants it. And the more we makabel that, it's hard. It's hard. Not easy. But when we realize that the shiva will be cut short, it'll be a short shiva. Because Avraham Yitzchak Kohen lived the life of Amunah Pshuta. He lived the life of Goyrel Hashem. And just as 15 years ago, Ariel passed away from us, and it was such a hard thing, what a thing. To bury a child is the hardest. There's all wissen. We were at the Shiva and we saw it like Makabel, Bamuna, Shlema, and now another. But this is the Goyrel. And that's what the Gemara tells us, the happiest day of the year. It's strange, but the Gemara says in kindness, the happiest day of the year is Yom Kippur. Because Yom Kippur, we come to a higher level. Hashem gives us the vision. Our neshamas are able to feel the Hatzur Tamim Pa'alo. All year long, when we're so involved in our own pursuits, we can't appreciate the ways of Hashem. We're not pure enough. But on Yom HaKippurim, the day of Lifnei Hashem Tithoru, Lifnei Hashem Tithoru, V'tari Libeinu Lo'avdecha Be'emes, on Yom Kippur, Hashem lifts us all up, that we can have a feeling of what it means to look at the world through His eyes, His glorious, pure, straight eyes, and not our own eyes, which are so self-centered. The moment that we heard that Rebbe Avraham Yitzchak Kohen was nifter, the first thought that entered my mind was the Gemara in Baba Basra Daf Tes Zayin on the base. The Gemara tells us there, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, Even toiva haisa tluya b'tzavaro shel Avraham Avinu. There was a beautiful stone that was hanging in a necklace from the neck of Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu went around with a necklace with a beautiful stone on it. And usually when Chazal say a beautiful stone, it means a sapphire stone. That is sapphire. Shekol chayla haroya isa miyad misrapeh. Anybody who looked And this very precious stone around the neck of Avraham Avinu immediately was cured. Ubishah shenifter Avraham Avinu in the oil. But now when Avraham died, so such a wonderful medical breakthrough. Wow, a stone of Avraham Avinu that anybody looked at it was cured. What did Hashem do with that wonderful gift to humanity? To law HaKadosh Baruch Hu Begal Chama. Hashem took that beautiful necklace and hung it on the sun, on the globe of the sun. And therefore the Gemara says that as the sun comes up every day, more cures come into the world. Because it says, Shemesh tzedakah u'barpei b'knafteha. Shemesh, the sun, is a gift, a charity from Hashem, and there is great healing through the wings of the sun. Avram Yitzchak Cohen, our dear beloved husband, father, grandfather, relative, friend. Avraham Avinu, he had a gift of the Evan Toiva Tluya B'Tzavara, that people who came to him for medical advice were healed, and they were cured. Hashem gave him a gift that he invested of his life, of his chama, of his warm personality, of his shining personality, like a sunbeam. He injected that in people who came broken, sick, depressed, and he had the ability. He was very, very focused, very, very focused, very organized, very focused. He had a protocol, he had a plan for every person according to their needs, what they needed. And if you looked at him and looked with him at your situation, there was a refuah. And now that he was nifted, again, Hashem says, the only way you'll have a refuah like that is by looking at the sun. In other words, says the Rashba, one of the early commentaries, Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet, HaRashba, Mefaresh, שהסוד של האבן הזה של אברהם אבינו, זה לא יהיה סתם אבן, בטח זה אבן ספיר, אבל זה יותר מזה. הסוד שדווקא על צווארו מפני שאברהם אבינו, בגרון שלו, היה לו ברכה נפלאה, שהוא היה יכול לדבר עם בני אדם, והדיבורים שלו היו כל כך מלאים אמונה בקדוש ברוך הוא, אמונה שהקדוש ברוך הוא יש לו סדר בעולם, הוא יודע מה שהוא עושה, והכל לטובה, למרות שאין לנו מבינים את זה. כמו שכל הרופאים אומרים לנו דברים שאין לנו מבינים, הרבה פעמים יש הרבה צער בטיפולים שהם מטפלים בחולים, אבל אנו מאמינים בחולים, ברופאים. בטח הקדוש ברוך הוא גם, אברהם אבינו היה נציג של הקדוש ברוך הוא, השגריר של הקדוש ברוך הוא לכל באי עולם, ועל ידי זה שאברהם אבינו הגביר בהם את האמונה הפשוטה, התמימה, הצור תמיד פועלו, זה הכשיר אותם, שהרפואה שהוא טיפל בהם, והרפואות הטבעיות שנתן, אבל הוא נתן להם הבנה שצריכים לצפות לישועה מהקדוש ברוך הוא, ועל ידי זה היה להם רפואה שלמה. והיום, אם אנו רוצים מושג של הכוח, של האנרגיה של אברהם אבינו, צריכים להסתכל בשמש. וכמו שאי אפשר להסתכל בשמש. והחמימות של השמש זה נורא מאוד החמימות של השמש. זה נורא. ככה אי אפשר להבין את עוצם הכוח והגבורה של מי שמאמין בקדוש ברוך הוא כל תוקפה. ויש דבר נפלא בנפש החיים, הוא אומר, אנו יודעים שיש בשמיים, there are 100 billion galaxies, and every galaxy has 100 billion stars. And that's not a guzman, that's the understatement of the most recent astronomy, which you understand just 90 years ago, before Edwin Hubble discovered the second galaxy, they thought there was only one galaxy in the world. Now there's 100 billion, with 100 billion stars. He asks the Nefesh HaChaim, what do you need so many stars for? What do you need those for? מדוע צריכים כל כך הרבה כוכבים, מיליארדים, מאות אלף מיליארדים, ביליונים? מדוע צריכים כל כך הרבה? מפרש הנפש החיים נפלא, שכל הבריאה Rotzeh l'shareit u'l'shamesh l'tzadikim. Shein shomrim et derech Hashem. The whole universe, every star out there, you look up at the starry nights, you can't even see what's going on. You see a few thousand stars above you if you're lucky. But whatever's going on in the whole Bria, every single star, they're much bigger than our sun. They want to give light and energy to tzaddikim who are mishares the Bayri Olam. The whole Bria wants to be mishares the Beruim, who are makir the Bayri. And so they send all of their light, you hear this? They send their light and their energy to our sun, and our sun is a funnel. The mashpech, shederach ha'chamash shalanu, Hashem shalanu, all that energy goes into every one of us who want to use our energy for the glory and the majesty of the Borei Kol Olam. That's how much light there is. And therefore, Avraham Avinu taught this lesson to the world when he died. The only way you can comprehend how much power Avraham had and people who follow in his ways, we are Zerah Avraham, is to look at the sun and you see how awesome. You can't look at it. You can't look at the sun. You get blinded. The power is enormous. That is what Avraham taught us. And all the world, the entire cosmos, was made for one purpose: to be mishares and to give light and energy to those who believe in the Borei Olam and spread the word to the rest of the world. This is the legacy of our Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen, our dear beloved friend. He will never leave us. Every time we look at the sun every morning, we'll think about him. We'll never forget him. He's there, on the Gal Tama. And the Gemara, and it says in the Torah that Kaviyachol, the footstool of Hashem, Hashemayim Kisi, Baris Adon Raglai, it says in the Pasuk in the Mishwata, the Tachas Raglav, K'maisa Livnas HaSapir, U'ke'etzem HaShemayim L'tohar. Beneath the feet of the Rebbeinu Shalom, so to speak, Kaviyachol is a sapphire stone. And Hashem looks at the world through the sapphire stone. It's like Kaviyachol, the sunglasses, so that you can look at the great, awesome light of the whole Bria. The name Safirstein is not by chance. It's an Evan Tova. It's the most amazing stone we have in the sapphire stone. And the Gemara says that the Seres HaDibros, the Luchos HaBris, the 10 Commandments, were written on sapphire stone, which Moshe Rabbeinu found underneath his feet in his tent. The sapphire stone represents the stone with which the Rebbeinu looks at this world, and looks at the sun, and looks at all the good things. So the Rebbeinu should give a nechama to the family. Nachamu, Hashem should give you the nechama that you were zochet to be in the mechitza of such a son, such a person as you are Shemesh Takam Marke B'Knafel, and you should continue Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen's legacy and continue to help the world and to spread refuah hanefesh, refuah haguf. And you had a great zchus, Avraham. It was a great zchus to know you. Part of your life. We're never going to forget you. Be'ezrat Hashem. We'll think about you, and your Rebbeinu should give us siyata d'shmaya to continue your beautiful legacy.
The last time my wife spoke to Poppy, we told her that I'm not afraid. She was understandably very shaken. She understood that he knew that he was facing the end, but he wasn't afraid. She thought about it. She remembered that he was always preparing for Adam Haba. He consciously prepared for it. He wasn't going to be caught unprepared. The Gemara tells us that when Acher went off the derech, so he saw a young boy whose father had told him to climb up a tree to do the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen. He fell and died. Now he said, how could this be? These are two mitzvahs, which the Torah tells us the schar of the mitzvahs are Yichat Yamin. When Papi suddenly got so sick, it was just hard for everyone to fathom. How could such a healthy person, who did so much for everyone's health, could now lie so sick in the hospital? Papa would have told you the answer is partial. The real Arichas Yomim is an Olam Haba. All this schar for all the help he was giving people, he didn't want honors in Olam Hazard. That wasn't for him. He was packing his suitcases for Olam Haba. Papi's name was Avram Yitzchak. He was able to take the two midas of the two avos, the midah of Avram, which is the midah of Chesed, together with the gvura of Yitzchak, and weave them together into a beautiful, unique tapestry. The Torah says, Eila told us, Adam, V'Baram. V'Baram is the same letters as the name Avram. The world was created for Avram Avinu. What was so special about Avram? Hashem created the world just for him. The Mishnah at the end of Pirkei Avos tells us that Hashem made 5 kinyonim. One of the kinyonim that he made was a kinyon of Avram Avinu. When a person makes a kinyon, he's not going to the store and buying something. The kinyon becomes a part of him. Something which is shaykh to him. Something which he needs. Hashem made a kinyon of Avram Avinu because of the midah of chesed that Avram Avinu had. And that was the midah which was shaykh to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because Avram was like him. Because the midah of HaKadosh, the midah of chesed is a midah which is godly. Chesed doesn't mean to be nice to people. True chesed, that's the true midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we need to emulate. There's an inherent difference between the midah of chesed and the midah of rachamim. The midah of rachamim is to fulfill someone else's needs. The midah of chesed is a desire to give from yourself to other people. This was Papi. Once one of the vitamin suppliers emailed my wife that he was recuperating from a heart attack. So his colleague was going to be taking over the orders for a little while. My wife said, okay, fine, she got his information, she moved on. But no, not Papi. He said, what do you mean? You have to email him, tell him what he has to do, what he has to take, how he has to help himself, how he has to improve his health. She said, I was like, just leave the guy alone. What do you mean you don't want to mix in? If I can help him, I want to help him. That was Papi. Papi was a midah of chesed. He looked to help people. Wasn't it just to fulfill someone's needs? If someone needed help, he wanted to help. He was there, he looked for chesed. Another time my niece spoke to Papi about a very special lady in Yerushalayim who was suffering from ALS. So instead of saying, I don't deal with ALS, I deal with other things, he put in a tremendous amount of time into researching ways to help her, putting together a special program for her because she was on a feeding tube and sending everything to Israel. Well, one wife asked him, she said, why are you spending so much time on the case? This isn't your regular protocol. This isn't... The answer is such a sad case, and even if there's a glimmer of a hope that I can help her, why wouldn't I try? I have to at least try. And if I does help her, then think of how many other people I can help. That was Papi. Always looking for ways of helping other people. Papi was nifter a day before his birthday. I felt that was something special, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu was trying to tell us. So, I'd like to offer a possible explanation. The shoresh, the root of the word chesed, is chas. The gematria of the word chas is 68. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Papi when he was still 68 in order to show us his true shorish, his true essence, was one of chesed. His life was always a life of giving to others selflessly. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed us that by taking him when he was still 68. To show us that was who he was. Avram Avinu went through 10 very difficult nisyanis, as we know. But the one which was the pinnacle of all the Messiahs was the Akedah. This is the sign which we ask Kodesh Baruch Hu to remember as a schus for all of his children. The Nisayon of the Akedah was to take the Gzeras HaMoked and accept it completely, without being Maharach HaMaisav Yisborach, without thinking we know better, what could have been, what should have been, what if I would have done this. Sometimes it feels like we're going through our own special Akedah. You have so many questions, there's only one answer. That's the acceptance of Gzeras HaMoked, the Kabbalah of Omach L'Shamayim. 15 years ago, Papi and Mami had to face their own personal Akedah when Ariel was nifter. By the end of the Shiva, we had the Akamas Matzeva, went to the Beis HaChaim. I remember Papi told me he didn't want to speak, but he asked me to say in his name. Now we can understand somewhat the Nisayon that Avraham Avinu went through by Akedah Yitzchak. Papi's name was Avram Yitzchak. He also exemplified tremendously the midah of Yitzchak, which is the midah of Gvura. This midah manifests itself in an inner strength. Everyone who knew Papi was a rock. He was a rock of the family. He was a rock of everyone who knew him. Ezu Gibor HaKodesh Etz Yitzro. Papi didn't let other things in. Papi was Papi. He was a rock. With all the life and death situations he dealt with, he didn't let it affect his personality. He kept up his winning personality and sense of humor. Life was precious. It had to be lived fully. When he played with the kids, all was right with the world. Who doesn't remember Papi playing around with the little kids, having them jump on him? He didn't unload all the pain and suffering he let into his heart on his family. Soon he was off the phone, away from the computer. Could have thought he was a Kabbalah again. Calm, composed, matter of fact. He was a rock on the outside, but he was soft on the inside. Don't think for a second it's because he was cold and technical and that's why these things didn't affect him. That wasn't his secret. He cared tremendously. He'd stay up to all hours of the night to figure out how he could make the program better. I can make a difference for someone, for some condition someone had to approach them about. Reading studies were so hard you could barely understand, they were so technical and complicated. But he knew he had to hold it together and carry it inside and not burden everyone else around him. We say now during Slichas, Zechol Bris Avos Kasher Marta. Zacharti is Brisi Yaakov, Vav is Brisi Yitzchak, Vav is Brisi Avram is Kor. But there's no Lashon of Zechira by Yitzchak. Why not? The Medrash brings down that a certain Bechina of Yitzchak was Nisraf, was Nekar, Agabe HaMizbeach. And the Medrash tells us, She'ofrei she'Yitzchak munach lefonav Tami. The ashes of Yitzchak were always munach in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why there's no Zechira by Yitzchak. He doesn't have to remember Yitzchak, he's always in front of him. Chazal tell us that Yitzchak is made up of two words. Ketz Chai. It's an end of a previous life and the start of a new one. We learn from this that when Yitzchak, there were two Yitzchaks. There was Yitzchak who led his life before the Akedah and the Yitzchak who led his life after the Akedah. So too with Papi. After he went through his own personal Akedah, he entered a new stage in life. He went from being a private person to being a Korban Sibur, dedicating his entire life to helping Klal Yisrael. Speak to all these people going through their tzar. There's nothing that needs a piece of your heart quite like it. It's so hard to hear people's tzaras. It's physically painful. But he did this day in, day out, on vacation, on Chol HaMoed, on the way to Walgreens, on the way to Chasna. If he could talk, he answered the phone. It was no wonder when we looked at his cardiogram, his echocardiogram, that he had cardiomegaly, which means that he had a big heart. Of course he did. He knew that. We needed a cardigan to tell us that. But now it was confirmed, black on white. Papi had a big heart. As Rabbi Akiva said of his wife, Shaliva Shalachem Shalau, all of this was a credit to Mommy. But we've been more than happy to never hear the word cancer again. Without the scab of a very painful effect, very painful wound to be scratched all the time. Because that's what we can learn. That's what a true Ezer Connective does. That's what one half of the soul will do for its other half. It's important to Papi, it's important to Mommy. No matter what the cost. And it's a Shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shivra Kayach, good health, to enjoy nachas from our entire extended Mishpach. Wife told him, she told him one point he has to change his phone number. He has to make it unlisted. He's to give out his office number, he's giving out his cell phone. Every normal doctor has hours in the office, a secretary. They call you at all hours of the day and night. You wouldn't have anything of it. People need help. You can't have hours and unlisted phone numbers. Even wanted the office phone to ring in his cell phone just in case someone didn't pick it up in the office because they were too busy. She told him that's the point of an answering machine. Someone, if you can't come to the phone, you have an answering machine. He probably made up his mind there was nothing anyone could talk about. Probably made up his mind that was the way it was going to be. You always love the good pshat, a good var. You know, it can be hard after a long week of work, especially for someone who works as hard as Papi did, to be fully present at the Shabbos table. Not everyone makes a good Abba Shel Shabbat. But Papi had priorities. He wanted different Torah, they had to be good. He had high expectations. He, along with Mommy, knew just how to ignite the spark in each of the children, how to find exactly what would motivate them to grow. It was this thirst for hearing different Torah from them that created their own thirst for Torah. And Baruch Hashem, there's no question that the schus that we have to sit in Kol these past 18 years was born by Papi's Shabbos table. He epitomized going all the way. Nothing was ever done half-baked. Anyone knew Papi, everything was done perfectly. There was never any cutting corners. You had to dot all the I's and cross all your T's. Laziness was no excuse. Hitting the wrong key by accident, it didn't fly. The Fnim assures that Din was always his motto. He would talk to people for hours. Mommy slept him to go on vacation, he took his laptop with him. He kept working as though he was sitting in his office. With pictures of him here next to Stroll on the phone on a hike in the Yarden. He's in the middle of the Yarden, he's on his phone talking to a patient. My kids know that Zadie has to help people. Once it's morning in America, the phone starts ringing. He has to go to work, he has to help people. The Arizal Krash says, when a special person is nifter, their midas are floating around and people can grab onto them and take them for themselves. Living up to Papi's standards and expectations won't be easy. But we daven for Siyat D'Shmaya, to hold up his legacy, Neshebol and Chavero, Avos Yisroel, Avos Torah and Yerushalayim, and all the midas that stem from them. We said this morning in Slichas, we said the Slichas of Yud Gimel midas. For the last 3 weeks since Papi got sick, people have been storming the heavens, Shemayim with tefillas. People have been crying and davening. At the end of the Pizman we say, Yiratzom Lefunecho, Shomei Kol B'chiyos, Shtosim Di Moiseinu B'noitchol Yos, Tatzilenu Mikol Gzeros Kashos Chazor Yos. Ki lechol levad einenu tuliyos. We know that all the tears, all the tefillas that we've spent in the last couple of weeks, and there are more to come, we know that all of these tears, they're not wasted. Kosh Baruch Hu puts them next to him. And all of these tears, they should be a schus for Klal Yisrael. V'tatzleinu mikol gzeros kashos achzor yois. Ki lechol levad einenu tuliyos. Mit Hashem, Papi should come in and and Mommy, the whole mishpacha, all the children and grandchildren, all the extended mishpacha, Tia, Tio, Abuelita. Bila amavis l'netzach, Malach Hashem Elokim Dima Me'al.
We had Levaya in Chicago. We had another Levaya on our way here in New York. I was going to just come up now. My uncle, my father's brother, Victor, wrote a letter that he wanted to be read now, but just as we got to the Beis HaChaim, I had some thoughts going through my head of things that I've heard from people, and I just want to share something with you. All the outpouring of love and what we hear, what my father had done throughout his life. I started wondering, I really have, especially when I sat down now. How is it, my sisters and I, what suchas do we have that we were raised by Abba Mitzvah and Yisrael Moshe Cohen, my wonderful mother? How come we got so lucky that he was our father? He's a very, very special person. His emunah, his chesed, his love. Have you heard that anybody, random people from around the world, didn't matter what was going on, nothing else mattered. He had to hear what their problems were and whatever he could do to help. My nephew Shlomi, when we were in the airport in New York, said he had people come over to him in New York. He knew he had a Zadie in Chicago, was did construction and did vitamins and tried to help people. He was super great Zadie, very nice Zadie. He's a nice Pashut Yid. We loved him dearly. But the Zadie in Chicago, he had people. I don't remember all the names of Gedolim. I don't know. So there are people like from. He said today Malkiel Cutler. I know we've had emails from people around Kanievsky and many other Gedolim. So Shlomi said this story. Somebody came over him that was connected with some Gadol. It says, "You're Safirstein?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, "You're related to the Safirstein in Chicago?" And he goes, "Yeah, my Zadie in Chicago." I'm like, "What's that?" Like, "Oh, you're Zadie in Chicago." He's a Gadol. He's a very special man. He is a very special man. A lot of Gedolim, a lot of people write Sfarim and Torah. They teach people, and they have a legacy of all the Torah and Talmidim and people that they helped to learn Torah. My father was a Gadol Ador. He helped people from around the world. There are people alive today doing mitzvahs, teaching Torah, raising families because of his love and chesed. And those are his svarim, his chesed and his love and compassion for people. That's his svarim, that's his legacy, and that's what we have to learn from him. Before I read my uncle's letter, just know that him, my brother Ariel, who was taken too soon, should be a Melech Yosher for our family, my mother, and all of Klal Yisrael. my father's brother, Victor. How do I do this? How do I eulogize my one and only brother when there were 3 hespading for him, but I could not attend one of them? How? How do I start? How? 15 years ago, I was in my beloved nephew Ariel Guido's funeral, and I wanted to jump and say, God Almighty, please take me and leave him. It's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. But there is no argument with God's judgment. For the bracha is, Baruch Dayan HaOmed. Generally translated, blessed is God, the true judge. I believe the translation should be, blessed is the judge of the truth. Only Hashem can judge the truth, so we accept the judgment. A few days have passed since Rosh Hashanah, and we all said the following, as we are saying every day. When we all said the following, as we'll say every day since until Yom Kippur. Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha, Ein Lanu Melech Elo Ata, Batel Me'aleinu Kol Gezeros Kashos. Avinu Malkeinu Shlach Refuah Shalema L'chol E'amecha, Kasvenu B'Sefer Chayim Tovim, Asei L'man Rachamecha Rabim. At the time, I was hopeful that the tefillos of all those who were pleading and asking for the Refuah Shalema will be answered in the way that we all wanted to be answered. In Rosh Hashanah, after Avinu Malkeinu, we read about those whose names we were named after. Our Avot, Avram, Yitzchak, and the Akedah of Yitzchak by Abraham. We read it year after year, twice a year, once during the Parshas Vayera and on Rosh Hashanah. And we know from past experience that at the last moment, God's angel stops Avram from the final step in Avram's last test. But for Avram and Yitzchak Avinu, there was no certainty that this was going to happen. And this Rosh Hashanah I was thinking, the same Parsha, Vayera, says it clearly, Hayipal me Hashem davar. Should you be surprised by what Hashem does? I was certain that the same way that a malach was sent to stop Avram for Hashem being a son, so would there be a malach that would bring a refuah to my brother. And he, like his namesake Yitzchak, would be spared and saved and be with us for many, many more years in good health, and will continue his work helping hundreds and thousands of people overcome sickness and continue his works of chesed and ahavat Yisrael. I was certain, Hayipal me Hashem davar. But we now know that it was not to be, that the malach that was sent to this Avram and to this Yitzchak had a different shlichut. And it was not to stop the korban, but to bring him home, to his final home, to his true home. After all the nidudim, all the diasporas that my brother went through during his life, Avram Yitzchak, you are finally home. We the mortal ones, those who are gathered here now, and those who love you from the diaspora, we all think that it is much, much too early. And yes, once again I want to jump and say, please, take me, and not him. It's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. But we have the Dayan HaEmet, the judge of the truth, and he is the one that decided. And now you are with those other loved and beloved ones, all the way from Abraham Avinu and Sari Avinu, and Yitzchak and Rivka, and our uncle Moshe Rabbeinu, and our forefather Aaron HaKohen, all through the Kedoshim who came before us, to our Zadis and our Babas, and father and uncles and aunts and sons and nephews, and they are all with you, and you are all gathered in Gan Eden, the head of Mizim Ashkina. And you are probably saying about us, if only you could see this. But we can't see it. All we see is the void of you not being here. All we feel is the searing pain, the pain of you not being with us, among us, not doing what we knew you would do for another 20, 30 years at least. Avinu Malkeinu Zachor Ki Afar Anachnu. Please please, God, give us the strength to go on, to continue. Please, God, help my family, my mother, Abuelita, my sister-in-law, my sister Tia Marta. Please keep them healthy and well. Help them look after their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. May they all continue in the path started by my brother and sister-in-law, my dear Tzipora, and from what they saw and while they were growing up in their parents' and grandparents' home. Avram, my brother, I ask for your mechila and slicha for any of all that we have done that was not according to your wishes, and for that hurt that I have, and for any hurt that I have caused you. Avram, my mother, Tia Nishbosma, Surah Chayim.
הפח נשבור ואנחנו נמלטנו.
Yizgadal, Yizgadash, Shmei Rabba. Amadi Brachi Reseda Lich Machusei. Yetzman Berkanevik Ered Meshichei. Echon Yom Echon. Uvechayim Bechol Beis Yisrael. Bagalo Izman Kariv Imramei. Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yisbar v'yisramah v'yisnasei v'yisadar v'yisalev v'yisalo shmei v'kudsha b'richu Leila min kol b'rchasa v'shirasa tushv'chasa v'nechem masa damiran v'amo v'imramei Yehei shlom ha'rabba min shamaya v'chayim tovim alein v'kol Yisrael v'imramei Oseh shalom v'imramei Oseh shalom alein v'kol Yisrael v'imramei